Hey, Cleveland. This is Anderson Varejão of the Cleveland Cavaliers. You are listening to the Sports Fix.
You are the voice of the Sports Fix. So pick up your phone now and call 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
Welcome in, everybody. Indeed, we are live on the air, off and running with another edition of the Sports Fix here. Man, I don't even know where to start, man. You know where we're going. Obviously, last night, double nickel, baby. Kyrie Irving laid it. I'm serious. I was talking to some friends. A buddy of mine listened to the show yesterday. He listens when he can. And he hit me, texted me during the game, and he goes, "Bro, did you pick the right day?" Because he's not always on the Kyrie Irving. We're not always on the same page, especially this season. He's still kind of in the, Kyrie paying for the sins of the past few seasons. And I get fans that are like that, but he goes, "Man, your boy made you look good today." I said, "Brother, did he make me look good or what?" Because, of course, yesterday, I'm waxing on for a while about Kyrie, and I said, what was it? I said, man, people are debating whether he should be an all-star starter or where is he going to make the team. And I said, man, if he keeps playing and improving the way he has this season, by the end of the year, we're going to be having a different conversation that he'll be involved in. And it'll be the big one with the big names involved in it because, man, I got to tell you, seriously, the evolution that we've seen. And again, we're going to have some fun with this today because it's not very often in Cavaliers history that anybody, including LeBron James, puts on a performance like we saw last night. 55 points from Kyrie Irving, just one off of the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise record, held, of course, by LeBron. 56 points there. But, so we're going to have some fun with it. Again, it's one night in the scope of the big picture, hey, Mo Williams hit 52 last week. I got it. I've had somebody already point that out to me. I hear it. But let's have some fun with this. And there's no way you could not have had some fun with this last night. I was texting Mike Brandenberry. He'll be with us. He's supposed to be with us today. Some switch-ups in the schedule. He'll be with us tomorrow. But Mike and I were texting just a few hours ago as I'm doing my show prep, and it was like, I think the way he hit it up was best. He goes, the game wasn't the best Cavaliers game of the season, but it was the most fun by far to watch for a Cavaliers fan. And I 100% agree with what he said there. There's no way as a fan that you... And you know what? Fred McLeod was the biggest fan of them all last night calling it. And that's one of the guys. I look to Freddie Mac and his calls. Of course, TV is a slightly different monster than radio, but it's still basically the same thing. But, I look at guys like him. I look on the local college level, like Al Pulowski for the Cleveland State Vikings, as I have begun my venture into play-by-play. But, brother, listening to Fred enjoy that one last night and some of the calls that he was dropping made it that much better. Matter of fact, here, just a minute, I'll relive it for you. I've got the cut-up of it, of Fred's calls to Kyrie's play, and we'll have some fun here. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that here in just a second. You know what? I'm going to do that now here while I'm talking to you guys. I'm going to go find that, and I'm going to pull that thing up now. We're going to set the stage before we even open the show with this one. one. If you didn't hear it last night, maybe you don't truly appreciate the fun that we're having here with this one and the fun that was had last night. So let's up that appreciation level a little bit. Let me take you back. Thanks to the NBA, thanks to Fox Sports Ohio, the audio coming from last night. My man, Fred McLeod, and a little bit of AC as well, talking up, oh man, here we go. Kyrie Irving, relive it right here. Every field goal Kyrie Irving made last night in 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Check this out.
3-point difference. Kyrie says one of these days, knocks it down, got that 3-stroke there on the groove, and he's been shooting well of late. You know, Kyrie, and he's fouled against Steve Blake. Cut it.
If you want to know what it's like to take somebody to the basket and wait for the play, Kyrie Irving, wait, lay it in, it's good.
Up back to Irving, sends it. The bottom, Kyrie Irving on the short corner. Kyrie launches. And hits, he's in a zone. Kyrie Irving again. Irving switched upon by Aldridge, sends it. Got it again, Kyrie Irving. Just cut it out. Kyrie Irving says, I don't care who you put on.
You might as well shoot everybody up, because Kyrie is on target, deep in the queue.
Kyrie steps back. Oh, seriously? You have to be kidding me. Raises and hits it again. Kyrie Irving. Pitch and catch action. Kyrie knocks it down from Mike Miller. And the onslaught outside the arc continues. Backs out. Got it. Off a rubber rim. Soft touch for Kyrie. Kyrie quickly down the floor. Sends it. The bottom. Kyrie Irving. He's gone Xbox at him tonight at the cue. Sends it. Got it. He's got 41. Jansen to create space. Keeps it along. Ball straight to the 10. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie ridiculous is his name. 83-79. Irving. Ball on a string. Inside. Finisher left hand. Right down Euclid. He wins. Fires. Got it. Kyrie again. To the rescue. He's got 5-0. Kyrie sends it for 3. Oh, Kyrie Irving. Are you kidding me? 53 in a game for the ages. 11 triples. Timeout Portland. Good guys by 3.
I mean, my man, Fred, did that not start your day right? That one and a cup of coffee right there. You don't need anything else, man. Hopefully that put a smile on your face. Fred McLeod puts a smile on your face. You can hear it dripping, the enthusiasm with every call. What a game he had. As a broadcaster, you can only you only have the content you're given with to work with. Some people can make a little into a lot, but you didn't need to work hard with that last night. It was ridiculous. And the biggest, to me, the best of them all, forget all the other 52 of them, the final three-pointer. By the way, Kyrie Irving hit a whole bunch of those three-pointers last night as well, as he just went to town last night. And most points by a home player in the Q's history. And Cavaliers, we'll talk about that in a minute. I got a couple of cool names and some company to drop on you with what Kyrie and the Cavaliers did last night. But, man, Freddie McLeod with the call there. And the last one, my favorite, because that was the game winner. Kyrie Irving comes down the floor. I mean, that game back and forth down the stretch. I mean, what a good fourth quarter that game was. Look at the rest of the game, right? Offense, back and forth. Cavs had a 30-point quarter early. Portland had a 30-point third quarter. Both teams were playing some good ball. Aldridge was, man, LaMarcus Aldridge, instead of having surgery, we talked about him, to take the focus off Kyrie for a second, 38 and 11. Every time Portland needed something, man, Aldridge was right there. I love the game of LaMarcus Aldridge. But fourth quarter, both teams buckled down defensively. 20 points apiece scored there in the fourth quarter. It was back and forth. And, I mean, you knew what it was coming down to at the end there. And there came Kyrie. I mean, just to homage to Stuart Scott, man, you can't say it better than as cool as the other side of the pillow. My man walks up and dots the I, man in his face, no hesitation, no doubt about it, and just walks off like, yes, I just did and the Cavaliers just did. And think about what, not just Kyrie Irving, but think about what the Cavaliers did last night. This is not, no disrespect to some of these other teams, but this is not some of these other teams. This is not just another team that the Cavaliers played last night. This is one of the best teams on the other side. People talk about the weakness of the East, the strength of the West. This is a Portland team that's very good, as you see why they came into the game at 32-13 last night. There's a reason for that. And the Cavaliers find out moments before the game that they're going to go without LeBron James. And, man, I go back to the beginning of this season. We talk almost every day a little bit about the Cavs here, a little bit about the Cavs there. And I've said from the beginning, wherever your final destination is going to be, you're going to have your shot to get there when the rest of the team can win or at least compete with any team without LeBron. You don't necessarily have to win them all, but when you can play with anybody, even if the Cavs had fell short last night, the fact that they played the way that they did, came up with the effort that they did, shows you that's what I'm talking about. When you get, there still needs to be consistency. This thing is still building and a lot of things are still in play. But when you get to that point that the Cavaliers can ball like that without LeBron James, man, now the game changes because now you're truly competitors for something here. And if the Cavaliers get to the point that the way they played last night, and obviously Kyrie Irving is not going to drop 55 points, and there's a reason that's a milestone. But when the Cavaliers can pull out performances like that without LeBron on a regular basis, everybody else is playing for second. Everybody else will be playing for second at that point down the road because then you're really going to be witnessing something special. And it's getting kind of fun to watch it along the way here, too, as now 8 in a row with that one there. Cavaliers improved to 27-20 on the season, 16-9 at home. And now, yeah, talking about at home and talking about what Kyrie Irving did last night, some of the names that he's in company with, of course, we said 1 point short of the franchise high 56, which is held by LeBron James. But Cavaliers at Cleveland, and I'm not just talking about the Q. I'm talking about the Q. I'm talking about Richfield Coliseum in the history, going all the way back to the arena. In the history of home games by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kyrie Irving set the record for the most points by any Cavalier player at home in Cavs history with his 55, and only one player in the history of basketball scored more points in a game at Cleveland's home arena, and that was the 69-point performance Michael Jordan put on back during the 89-1990 season. Matter of fact, it was the early part of 1990 when Jordan dropped that. I was at that game. I was like 10 years old back then. But anyways, and I remember that, man. But think about that, nearly 70. But yeah, Michael Jordan in that company, LeBron James. I mean, again, you put yourself in that conversation, but that's one night. And you know what? Here's the flip side of that. And I know we've said this, there's help. Obviously, you've got the defense with Mozgov and different things that are making it easier on these guys. But Kyrie's doing what he's doing. I mean, he dropped 100 in the last 2 games, man. And he's doing it while still playing on the defensive end. We were seeing that last night. Again, a couple of steals, jumping in the passing lanes, and then still giving the max effort on the offensive end as well, because that was always the excuse, guys, for the last couple of years was, well, Kyrie has to give so much effort on the offensive end because the Cavs don't have any help for him, and he's got to, so the Cavs let him loosen up on the defensive end because he's got to save his energy. And now you're seeing the full Monty, the full 48, man. Let's get into that. And speaking of getting into it, I didn't even get this thing officially off and rolling. We're all the way through the first 15 minutes of the show. Pause, take a breath. Feeling good? So am I. If you're here for the first time, welcome in to the Sports Fix. Yep, finally, here we go. Somebody tuning in for the first time just spent 14 minutes going, who is this guy talking? Who is he? I like it, but who is he? Well, I hope so. Welcome into the Sports Fix. Having some fun here. J-Rocc, Jerry Myers, welcoming you in across the Sports Fix radio network. Maybe that means you're listening live on TuneIn, TuneIn's radio app worldwide on Spreaker and Mixler and their respective digital and mobile apps. Perhaps you're enjoying the show on our home base, thesportsfix.net. If you're not, bookmark it, because if there's ever a problem with the preferred method that you enjoy the show, you can always hit us up right there. The show streams live. No buttons needed. Click live right off the site. You just go to it. Boom. Magic voice. Manna from the heavens. Bookmark it. thesportsfix.net. As well, welcome in all of you listening on digital delay 24/7 on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio service, on Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud and CarPlay. Those of you that download us on iTunes, however you feed, subscribe, download, or enjoy the show, thank you guys very much for being a part of the show. And as we say each and every day right around this, well, no, actually we usually say it about 12 minutes earlier than this, but this is your show. Phone lines open 24 hours a day. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. If you can't get to the phones, Facebook and Twitter it is. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. In just a few minutes, keeping the conversation going about Kyrie Irving, about the Cavaliers, about this 8-game winning streak, LeBron James, Kevin Love, a lot of conversations to keep going. So let's keep it going. Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland, Cavaliers writer. He's going to join us talking some Cavs here just moments from now when we come back from the first break. Later on in the show, Dr. Football switches gears. Bill Chachkes back in the house looking ahead to the Super Bowl here. We'll do some of that when the doctor's in the house. Buckeyes and Maryland tonight. Big basketball clash coming up. Whole lot of things to get into as we roll on, but here we go, off and running. Today's edition of the Sports Fix well underway, guys, and again, looking back, talking about it, and we'll have Eddy Jansen here when we come back from the break. But last night, Cavaliers, Kyrie Irving doing the Uncle Drew last night. 99-94 winner for the Cavs over Portland. 8th game in a row. The big story, the lead, Kyrie Irving, 55 points. You know, I saw an interesting, Elias, the Statistics Bureau. They always put out all kinds of obscure stats, and I'm one of them guys that loves those. I love those weird where you just go, man, because I like to know who figures those things out. Like, you've got to really look at sports from a different point of view. I love it to find some of those stats. But Kyrie Irving had 55 last night, but the Cavs only scored 99 points. They failed to break 100 points. It is the 4th highest total in NBA history by an individual player whose team did not score 100 points in the game. It's kind of crazy that you think about it. I mean, he had 55. The rest of the team had 44 put together. Kyrie joins Michael Jordan, LeBron James, the game where he set the Cavaliers franchise record with 56. Michael Jordan had a 56-point game in 1987, and George Mikan from 1952 had a 61-point game where his team didn't score 100. That's it. Those are the only players, the highest scorers there individually, whose team did not go on to break 100 points. And speaking of high scores, Kyrie Irving now becomes the first former Duke Blue Devil to score 50 points in an NBA game. Previous highest score by a Duke player was Grant Hill. He had a 46-point night back in 1999 for the Pistons. And Kyrie's 55 points is the 10th 50-point game in Cavaliers history. You know what, too? Speaking of 50-pointers, look, it was just last week the other two came down with 52 with Mo, of course. Mo Williams hit the Mo flow, and Klay Thompson. And here now, boom, early, just a week, 10 days later from that, here comes Kyrie dropping the 55. Kyrie also, team record 11 three-pointers in this one, just came off the missing the all-time NBA record. I think it's Kobe and Donyell Marshall that has the record. He missed that one by a three-pointer there, and again, missed the franchise record by 1 point, but sure didn't miss a whole lot of anything else. There was one run where at the end, he had a similar run at the end of each half of the game, which I think this is kind of an intriguing stat. At the end of the first half, I believe Kyrie had 24 of the 24 of the 27. It was a huge majority. It was like 80% of the points that the Cavaliers had scored. Did the same thing at the end of the game. Had 24 of the Cavaliers' final 28 points down the stretch. 16 of those 20 points that he put up in the fourth quarter. But again, the biggest one came on that three-pointer. Lillard came down on one end. He tried to do the same thing that he did last year. Walk off on the Cavaliers there. Instead, misses it. Kyrie comes right down and stands there with about 6.5 seconds on the clock and dropped that three-pointer. Dotted the I. And I'll tell you, amazing. Let's go right. Hey, we got to get the break in. Let's get Eddy Jansen in, but let's pick it up right from there. You guys feeling good today? You should, because it's not very often that you get to enjoy. It doesn't matter if it's the Indians, the Cavs, or the Browns. Just get to enjoy a game like we saw last night. Soon enough, the trials and tribulations of a long NBA season will pop back up. But today, you got to dance. You got to feel good. You got to enjoy that when it was a fun game last night. And just in case you didn't, hey, you know what? I may have to play it. It was so nice, I may have to replay it twice when we come back here. I may have to play those highlights again and get my man Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland on. Let's see what he thinks about this and how much he enjoyed watching Kyrie go Uncle Drew. He went all double nickel at the Q last night. And hell of a game it was for the team in general, 55 points. And, you know, I'm going to talk about a few things here. Kevin Love, a lot of people, we said it a little bit yesterday, going on the far negative end with that, because as soon as one thing straightens out, you got to find something else. But I'll go back to what I said yesterday. We'll get into it. But when a guy can struggle to find his way and still contribute and not be a distraction, there's something to be said for that. But a lot of people, now they're concerned about Kevin. Of course, when one fire goes out, you got to light another one. But we'll hit on some of those things, and we'll talk Kyrie dropping 55 at the Q with Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back talking some more Cavaliers here on the Sports Fix.
Hypnotizing, mesmerizing me. She was everything I dreamed she'd be. Sweet surrender, what
A public service announcement from the Sports Fix. We here at the Sports Fix and our affiliates would like to apologize for any disturbing verbal actions, but remember, it's better having them trapped in a box than loose on the streets. Public service announcement from the Sports Fix. The Sports Fix, the sports show that cares.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Hey, Sports Fix fans, I'm Fred McLeod, TV voice for the Cavaliers. When I'm not busy taking elbows from my buddy Austin Carr, I'm tuning in to see what the guys are saying. Come on, Cavs!
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and
pour me out. This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com. Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history? In-depth, personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book. Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
You're listening to The Sports Fix.
They're playing basketball without that basketball. They're playing basketball without that basketball.
3-point difference. Kyrie says one of these days, knocks it down, got that three-stroke there on the groove, and he's been shooting well of late, you know. Kyrie, and he's fouled against Steve Blake. Count it.
If you want to know what it's like to take somebody to the basket and wait for the play, Kyrie Irving, wait, lay it in, it's good.
Up back to Irving, sends it. The bottom, Kyrie Irving on the short corner. Kyrie launches, and hits, he's in a zone. Kyrie Irving again. Irving switched upon by Aldridge, sends it. Got it again, Kyrie Irving. Just cut it out. Kyrie Irving says, I don't care who you put on.
You might as well shoot everybody up, because Kyrie is on target, deep in the queue.
Kyrie steps back. Oh, seriously? You have to be kidding me. Raises and hits it again. Kyrie Irving. Pitch and catch action. Kyrie knocks it down from Mike Miller. And the onslaught outside the arc continues. Backs out. Got it. Off a rubber rim. Soft touch for Kyrie. Kyrie quickly down the floor. Sends it. The bottom. Kyrie Irving. He's gone Xbox at him tonight at the kill. Sends it. Got it. He's got 41. Jansen to create space. Keeps it along. Ball straight. Left hand. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie ridiculous is his name. 83-79. Irving. Ball on a string. Inside. Finisher left hand. Right down Euclid. Fires. Got it. Kyrie again. To the rescue. He's got 5-0. Kyrie sends it for three. Oh, Kyrie Irving. Are you kidding me? 53 in a game for the ages. 11 triples. Timeout, Portland. Good guys by 3.
So tall, playing deep with desire. Basketball.
Yeah, somebody was playing some basketball last night at the Q. Welcome back to the Sports Fix. J-Rocc back with you here as we roll on talking some Cavs and Kyrie Irving dropping the double nickel last night. And I'm telling you, it was just a fun game. Just a fun game for the Cavaliers fan to enjoy. Hey, you know what? An 8-game winning streak is good enough, but that one there is kind of like a, hey, all right, we owed you one here, man. Have some fun with this one to tide you over. But again, a good night, and you got to enjoy those because sometimes you go 2 or 3 weeks with a whole lot of other things to talk about, man. And a great performance, great victory. And like I said, man, to circle it back around as I get ready to bring Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland on with us here is when you get the Cavaliers, win or lose, even if you fall short in a game like that, when you get the Cavaliers playing at that level without LeBron James, when they get there night in and night out, when they're at that level night in and night out without LeBron, win or lose, playing at that level, that's when everybody starts playing for second, man, because at that point, then this thing really does become what a lot of people visualized it could be. We saw perhaps a visualization and a big step in that direction last night. Let's pick it up there. Eddy Jansen covers Cavaliers for More Than a Fan Cleveland, and he joins us here every week talking about it. I told him before the show, we couldn't have impromptu picked a day better than we did here today. Eddy Jansen, how you doing, my friend, on this Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jerry, your timing really was impeccable, to say the least, here with this stellar performance by Kyrie Irving. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Great timing.
I mean, seriously, earlier this week, we're like, okay, we got some windows, and it's just random, like, hey, let's shoot for Thursday. And then, boom, like, hey, you know what? We saw this one coming, man. I'll take credit for it, man. That's cool. You guys can give us some credit. But, man, really, last night, just a fun game. As I said, maybe not the best total game that the Cavaliers have played, but it is from the fans' perspective. I think I agree with what Mike Brandenberry said. Most fun game for any fan to enjoy. You could hear it dripping the fun in Fred's voice as he's calling the game. And when the announcers are having that much enjoyment calling the action, you know that everybody is watching it as well.
Oh, absolutely, Jerry. And, you know, going back to last night, I thought of one thing. I thought way back to July when LeBron was coming back and he said that this is Kyrie Irving's team. Well, I don't think many people believed him at first, and this is not taking anything away from LeBron, but I do think that there is some legitimacy to the fact that this is Kyrie Irving's team. I mean, they played so well. They probably played as well last night without LeBron James as they've played without him, even when he was shut down for the last 2 weeks, and you owe almost all of that credit to Kyrie Irving there with the outside three-point stroke. He was going right down Euclid, as Fred would say, time and time again. I mean, Kyrie missed those first 7 shots, if you can remember. And then all of a sudden he flipped the switch, and in 99 seconds, Jerry, a minute 39, he scores 11 points. I mean, if that's not the mark of a bona fide superstar in this league, I don't know what is. I mean, this guy has solidified himself as one of probably even the top point guard in the Eastern Conference right now. There's just nothing that can be done to slow Kyrie Irving down. He's got 93 in the last 2. He didn't turn the ball over much at all last night. So really, Kyrie Irving's numbers, his leadership, and his defense have really sent the message to people around the NBA that this is Kyrie Irving's team, not taking anything away from LeBron James with how great he is. But still, Kyrie Irving has a firm grip from the leadership perspective on this team, and it is showing, and it was in full form last night at the Q against Portland.
Absolutely. And, I mean, you hit on – it's so easy to focus on the 55 and the points. And, I mean, you and I a few weeks ago talked, and I said, hey, offensively, Kyrie Irving, to me, is in the top 5 in the league as far as just offensive finishers and the way what he can do on the offensive side of the ball, man, because it's amazing to watch him, especially, man, Fred he needs to find a new phrase, because you can only say ball on a string so many times, but it's every time. It's hard because he controls that ball so masterfully. But forget that, because that's something a lot of guys learn how to do in this league, is on the offensive end. Brother put 55 down last night while holding, in my opinion, one of the best point guards in the Western Conference to a 4-19 night shooting. I mean, think about that. Damian Lillard, really held 14 points on the game, had a few assists, but nothing like the impact that Lillard usually has for Portland there. And I mean, yeah, I said earlier, of course, it's not just lockdown Kyrie. You have Mozgov. You have different now funneling of the defense, but it doesn't matter. It shored up whatever help Kyrie needed defensively, because he's locking guys down and still going ballistic on the offensive end of the ball. Remember, I mentioned this earlier, but you've covered the Cavs for a few years. Remember, the last few years, one of the easy excuses for Kyrie's lack of defense was he has to put so much energy on the offensive end of the ball because he has to carry the team, and therefore they let him slack up a bit on the defensive side. But that has been shucked away, for whether it's him, whether it's LeBron, whether it's the team saying, now you need to do this regardless. That is a different side of Kyrie, and that's why I'm being so over the top about him now, because it's not just the offensive side anymore. It is a true both sides of the floor game.
Yeah, and really, Jerry, I mean, I cannot remember in my recollective memory the last time, not just a good point guard, but any point guard that Kyrie has faced has had a decent night from the floor. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers right now. I'm probably in the minority on this, but I kind of feel there's a little thing between Kyrie and Lillard because they were both drafted in the same draft, okay? Yeah. Maybe one could infer there's a little bit of a nemesisness between the two. I know I'm in the minority on that, but anyways, Lillard goes 4 of 19 last night. In the Thunder game, Westbrook did put up 22, but it was 7 of 26 from the field. Yep. Kudos to Kyrie there. When they took on the Bulls last, they had a pretty tough customer in Derrick Rose. Rose couldn't get anything going from the field. He went 5 of 14. And in the Clipper game, I mean, the Clippers scored 121 against the Cavs, but not thanks in large part to Chris Paul, who against Kyrie Irving went 4 of 15. So a super, super, super consistent defensive performance from Kyrie Irving. And I think that if you talk to some people in the Cavs organization at the beginning of the season, that the experience Kyrie had in terms of playing with Coach Krzyzewski and the United States team was a big, big, big benefactor for Kyrie Irving going forward this season. And I mean, he consistently plays anywhere in the 35 to 39, even the 40-minute range, and he does not look tired. He does not look fatigued. He is still bringing the same amount of energy on a nightly basis. Maybe, we can infer that this is Kyrie Irving slowly but surely getting into the peak of his career. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's no longer really a youngster anymore. I mean, he is in terms of age, but this is his 4th year. I mean, he's got a really good feel for the league, a really good feel for the guys he was going to be competing against on a nightly basis, and in particular, the top point guards in the league. So as of right now, there really isn't anything that Kyrie Irving can't do. He is what we would call in baseball a 5-tool player per se, because he's doing it all.
I agree with you. Absolutely, my friend. Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland joining us here. We're talking about Kyrie Irving, the Cavaliers, and what they did, not just last night, but throughout the season. I mean, yesterday, honestly, you talk about timing here. Yesterday was just gushing effusively about Kyrie Irving and the defense and looking at this season. Even if you just look month by month through the season, I've watched him improve as each block of games has gone by, as we've gotten further into this season, man. And I mean, to me, that's the sign. I never like to. I don't like the trend in sports radio and in the media to just write the book on somebody and you're done. You know what I mean? And I know, hey, some people say, hey, you already wrote the book on Johnny Manziel. That's a different book. That's different. I can see the future there. But seriously, some people look at an athlete and they say, boom, cut and dry, this is what it is. And I always believe that the great ones continue to evolve and continue to get better. I mean, one of the things we talked about when LeBron James said, I'm coming back home, and all of that was, how will Kyrie Irving respond to this? Like you said, nobody paid any attention to the lip service of, oh, this is Kyrie's team and all of that. And especially when you had the statistic of, 1-8 when LeBron sits out games and all of that. And I get it. So this season, though, I think we've actually watched the growth of Kyrie Irving from the beginning to the point that we're at now. I mean, there was a point about a month in where none of them were playing defense. LeBron, Kyrie, none of them. We know how things were going, but you look and you can see that during that middle month, do you look into December, bridging into the beginning of January, I started talking about, Kyrie's playing some defense here on some of these really good point guards, man. We're really starting to see it. And then now it's going to the next level here as we evolve into the beginning of the year here, man. I mean, to me, it's kind of a pleasure to watch that too. You're not just seeing a finished product. We're actually watching it here. But the question was, how would Kyrie react to LeBron, and will he up his game? And obviously the answer we're getting is a resounding yes.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, absolutely. I think the two of them really enjoy playing together. And needless to say, I think LeBron picked a really good game to sit out because he got to watch that from the seats. He had a front row seat to one of what he proclaimed to be one of the best individual performances that he saw live in person. So from a spectator standpoint, LeBron had the timing too, just like we have. But Jerry, I do think we have to give a little bit of credit to Griffin with acquiring Mozgov and not particularly just getting a big. I think that has become more of a shot in the arm for Kyrie than we originally expected, because when Varejao went down, I think Kyrie's focus and mentality was that, okay, well, I don't have a big guy to help protect the rim behind me. I got to be a little bit more active and spend more energy at the point of entry. Well, that may have caused him to be a little bit lethargic on offense before that. But now that Mozgov is there, the pick and roll situation, both on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively, has become relatively effortless for Kyrie, thanks to the big man. Now, it's not that defensive prowess wasn't there before, because it definitely was when Mozgov was there, but I think Mozgov does bring out the best in Kyrie Irving, and that's going to end up being one of, if not maybe even the trade of the regular season for the NBA, thanks in no small part to the Cavaliers' new GM.
I agree. Yesterday I was saying that just as much when I was talking, because I was saying, David Blatt had begun the day before to say, hey, now LeBron, whispers he's starting to creep back into the MVP conversation. And that's when I said, hey, Kyrie Irving continues to play, and this was before he drops 55, the way he has been. By the end of this season, he'll be in that conversation as well. But while I was throwing out MVPs, because Larry in the chat room was joking with me, he said, by the time you're done, everybody will be the MVP. I said, but to me, what you just said, the secret MVP move would be Mozgov. Yes, I love getting Shumpert defensively, and Smith, we see what he's done. He blamed it on the boring nightlife of Cleveland, which I thought was pretty funny, man. But he said, I got nothing to do but focus on basketball. But those are good, solid additions. They deepened the rotation and gave us an actual rotation now. But Mozgov, you hit it on the head, man. That was the trade, and not necessarily because he's the best. No, he's the best fit at what he does. He flies up and down the court for a big man, and he's got that. He's got a little bit of that what you needed, but besides the size, man. Because I like his. I don't know what you want to say. I don't say energy, whatever, man. He's relentless down there, man. He just keeps plugging away, and that's going to be the move, like you said. Whatever happens, this season, people will go, that's when everything changed. It's easy to point out the LeBron stat and say, oh, one win, well, now two, when he doesn't play this season. But take that out of the way, because all those games LeBron missed was when this team was not put together right at all, as we know. I think the X factor to look at it from is when they got Mozgov. Look at the record since they got LeBron. That all happened at the same time. They made the trades. A few days later, here comes LeBron. Look at the run they've been on since then. Since then, in that 8 or 9 game run, they're first in the NBA in offensive efficiency and second in defensive efficiency. They're scary good since this group of players started playing together.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that, if you talk to Griffin even prior to either one of these trades, I mean, he definitely would have been the first guy to tell you that Mozgov was on their radar prior to the Anderson Varejao injury. I mean, that's how much Mozgov is respected around the league. That's how much, upper management thinks that he is talented. I mean, literally, it could not have been a better fit down low because, with the Verjao injury, they were a little undersized with Thompson at the center and Love, trying to spread the floor at the power forward. But now that they've got a legitimate guy going to throw his weight around down low on the block, they are now a complete team. There's no question about that. And Mozgov, too, a shot blocker and a little bit of an intimidation factor as well. And that's really what the Cavs needed. I mean, not that you wouldn't be intimidated by facing LeBron and other guys on a nightly basis, but just somebody to protect that rim. And that's really not the only piece that Mozgov brings to the table. Like we said before, the pick and roll, defending the pick and roll, executing the pick and roll on offense. He does a little bit of everything that a traditional big that you would expect from it. Don't get that out of Kevin Love because he's a stretch four. They needed it. And the other thing, too, with Mozgov is I'm not really sure there'd be another team in the league, back when Mozgov was with Denver, of course, that would have given up 2 first-round picks for him. I mean, that is a pretty hefty price for a guy in Mozgov, who at the time was talented but still relatively unproven. Well, I think Griffin proved that it made a lot of sense to give up on those 2 first-round picks. They might have paid a hefty fee for them, but they definitely got what they were looking to get in return, and probably a little bit more with Timofey Mozgov.
Absolutely. I mean, a double-double nearly every night since he's gotten here. Him, Love, and Thompson again last night combined for 30-plus rebounds just between the 3 of them. That's what I envisioned even before Mozgov of this team, was being a better rebounding team than they were early on. Now we're seeing them attack the boards as, hey, Portland's a good rebounding team, and they out-rebounded Portland by, I think, a half a dozen last night. And by the way, on the side of Portland, before we talk a little more Cavaliers, got to give credit. I said it earlier before you join me, LaMarcus Aldridge. I really love the game of LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, and you got to love the heart, too. This is a guy that could have, packed it in. I mean, obviously, his team's not in a losing position where some teams it might be more beneficial to do that. But he didn't have the surgery. He said, you know what, I'm going to play through this. Well, he didn't play like a guy playing through anything last night. 41 minutes. He led his team in minutes, in scoring, in rebound. Well, he was right up there with Kaman, but he had a double-double, 38 points. I mean, everything they needed last night, LaMarcus Aldridge was picking up the slack that Damian Lillard wasn't necessarily bringing, and Matthews last night. What about it, man? LaMarcus Aldridge is a very, very, I think, underappreciated in some circles basketball player. He's up there, top, in my opinion, maybe top power forward, top couple for sure in the whole league.
I would almost go as far to say as he is the most underappreciated player in the league because Portland has won for the past 2 years. And if you remember back to his first couple days in Portland, they did call him soft a little bit. So he toughened up a little bit, and then they got a couple pieces around him. And they've turned it around for the Portland Trailblazers. But one thing I will say, Jerry, just a quick thought about Aldridge, and this just kind of adds a little irony to it because, we all think that Aldridge is a really underappreciated player. Well, he seems to be the guy that scores 38 when somebody else scores either 55 or, say, 60. If you remember last year when LeBron scored 60 with the Heat, that was against Portland, and Aldridge, I do believe, had 38 in that game as well. He's kind of been on the wrong end of the stick in terms of, picking a wrong night in terms of who goes off for points. But no question about it, Aldridge, one of your best post scorers in the game, and really he should be in Phoenix this year as an all-star. No question about it on my end.
And playing hurt. I mean, that's that example that you need when your star players do that. And I know you can't hurt your team by playing too hurt, but when your star players set those kind of examples, it makes it impossible for the younger guys not to fall in line and do the same thing because you can't argue when you go, well, that guy's doing it, and he makes how many millions of dollars, and you know what I mean? So I love that, and the fact that he's out there playing for his team, man, I dig that. And you know what? It's a good segue there to go back to the Cavaliers. Kevin Love, scary moment. Of course, LeBron missed last night and may be out the next. He's doubtful for Friday as well. But that should be a couple of game thing just to let the pain go away there in the wrist. But Kevin Love, besides the fit, which I want to talk to you about here, I've dug the toughness. A lot of people put that soft label on Kevin Love, especially defensively, but for his time in Portland. And one thing I have noticed, while he is struggling here offensively to fit in and all of that, is he's taken some falls. He's taken some nasty shots and gone out to where you go, this doesn't look good, man. This guy may be really hurt. A few minutes later, without even any fanfare, he's slipping back into the game, and you can see the pain on his face. And I'm not trying to act like he's Willis Reed coming out of the tunnel or anything like that, but you can see the pain on his face, but he's out there playing not only through injuries, but struggling as well. And one thing I keep pointing to is as much as he's struggling, he goes 3 of 15 last night, only puts 10 points on the board, but he's struggling in a way that's not verbally or any way actually disruptive to the team. He's still getting double-digit rebounds every night. He's still, as I said, gunning through injuries, especially when your team's down and they need guys to be out there, bodies. So I think it's the best bad situation the Cavs could have because, yes, Kevin Love is truly trying to figure out how to fit effectively into this team, but he's not hurting the team in the process, at least as far as I can tell. Of course, going 3 of 15 isn't the best stat line, but the Cavs it's not obstructive to what the team's doing while they're trying to figure him out. Where are you at with Kevin Love?
Well, I still think that he's trying to earn that reputation of a grinder down low. The game plan for him early on in the season was to step outside the arc, try to spread the floor and hit some early threes. I think the Cavaliers have gotten a little bit away from that with Kevin Love, especially early on in games. Just the number of looks he takes from three-point land has really gone down, particularly since the acquisition of Smith and Shumpert, and especially Mozgov too. But now that you've got a guy that can light it up from three-point land with Smith, I think that the demand for Love to spread the floor and shoot threes isn't quite as prevalent as it used to be. And particularly in the last week or two, I think you're seeing him with a little bit more of a focus down low, trying to get more rebounds. He's posted, I think, 3 straight double-doubles. And really, that's what they want from Kevin Love. I mean, they do want the floor spacing, don't get me wrong, but they've found other options in the floor spacing. And the good thing about Kevin Love is that right now, while LeBron and Kyrie are doing their thing, eventually at some point in the season, there's going to be a night when, maybe LeBron isn't playing and maybe Kyrie gets bottled up by some top defender. Well, they still have the top-tier option to go to Love if they want to, but just not really using him much right now. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a long season. They will eventually go to him later, more presumably in the playoffs when the shots get bigger and the games get more important.
Yeah, again, not disruptive. That's the key, because there's a lot of situations where, as you hear about, this guy's not getting enough shots. He's not, and I see that, and there's talk, and I think David Blatt's brought it up. There's work on both ends. The Cavs have to figure out more ways to get him the ball, but he also has to find more ways to demand the ball when he's in the right position, and you can see that being a work in progress. I was saying yesterday that, as long as it stays on that side, what we're saying, fitting in, on the nights when the Cavs need him to come up, he comes up. But as long as it stays where it's not an issue as far as affecting what the Cavs are doing this year, I don't think that there is a Kevin Love problem like some people would say. I don't see it that way. Now, I do say that at the end of this season, if that's the final role that he settled into, then everybody's got to figure out what the value of that is and all of that. That's free agency stuff. But that's different than affecting the journey of what the Cavs are trying to do on the court this basketball season. As long as he can, and again, if a guy can, while he's struggling, can still give you 12, 15 rebounds a night, can still give you a couple of assists when you need it, can still play a little bit of defense, do the things that he's doing while he's struggling, that's a situation you can deal with for sure, don't you think?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And I mean, you know, when they made the trade to bring in Kevin Love in August, I mean, he knowingly figured that there were going to have to be some sacrifices made. I mean, Chris Bosh didn't have to say anything to him about making sacrifices, because Love has just never been in that position where he's even had one really, really good ball handler to share the ball with, you know, outside of Kevin Martin, maybe, who's probably more of a step outside the three-point line shooter. But yeah, I mean, a lot was going to be required of Kevin Love, and if you asked me at the beginning of the year who was going to have to sacrifice the most, no question about it, Kevin Love, because you know, LeBron is who he is. Kyrie Irving is the point guard, you know, the ball-dominant point guard who brings the ball up the floor and is responsible for orchestrating the offense. So, you know, if there was going to be an adjustment for any one of the big three, per se, it was going to have to be Kevin. But they definitely will be able to utilize him at full strength at some point during this year. It's really just a matter of when. I mean, he's just too talented of a player, a shooter, and a rebounder to not get utilized to his full potential. It's just a matter of time.
Right, Cavaliers, again, that's part of the process. And those are when the actual parts of the process that people anticipated going into the season. Again, man, it's a lot more fun to watch them figure it out on this end, as they've tied a season high with an 8-game winning streak here. And now we talked about it last week when you and I were looking ahead at the schedule. Cavaliers with a stretch of games here, just finished a back-to-back, have a night off, and then another back-to-back, road and away, coming up here over the next couple of days. So the work does not stop here, and I thought that works to the Cavaliers' advantage. Again, you want to hope not to get anybody injured, as we saw here, and of course you take a deep breath when LeBron takes a fall like that. But assuming you can keep everybody healthy, I think this, when you're playing poker and the cards are working out, you don't want them to take that table break. You're going to know, I've just won 6 in a row. Can we keep playing? You know, you don't want the tournament to take the break just yet, because you're playing the hot hand, you know. And right now it feels like the Cavs are playing the hot hand. I said it to you last week. If I'm the Cavs, I don't want a day off. I mean, yeah, okay, I'm I don't mind a break, but I want to get back out there tomorrow and do it again, because everything is continuing to click.
Right, yeah, and it goes back to the timing. I mean, it really is amazing when you take a step back and look how immediately J.R. Smith and Mozgov, and right now, eventually you get to the point where Shumpert's going to fit in immediately because he's a lockdown defender. I mean, these are guys that were going to provide something right off of the bat for the Cavaliers. And, you know, with the way that the roster is put together right now, they did not have to go out and get another superstar. They just had to get a couple of pieces that could get them out of that rough stretch, that 8 out of 9 stretch where LeBron was sitting. And really, it was bleeding control. So the wounds are patched up. And then some, you know, and Smith and Shumpert and Mozgov have helped out so much. And really, they're bringing the best out of the big three, and a big mental stabilizing shot, I guess you could say. You know, like you go to the doctor and you get a shot. That's essentially what these three pieces are, to try to galvanize LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, and everything has come full circle. And yeah, I mean, they've got to be itching to get onto the hardwood on a nightly basis.
For sure. This weekend here, you've got Sacramento back at the Q, back in front of the home crowd on Friday. You got Minnesota, a quick roadie there on Saturday, off on Sunday, and then Monday they finish up 3 and 4 days as they come back to the Q with Philly. And really, when you look at that, only a few, you don't overlook anybody, but look at the stretch of games before the All-Star break. I mean, obviously you've got the Clippers coming up a week from today, and you've got the Pacers, but other than that, a group of teams that are the lesser lights in their conferences, and it's fodder here. Even going past the All-Star break, you look past, once you get past the first couple of games there, you've got another stretch here. So a chance to, as we say, make some hay with the record here and continue to put some distance between the win and the loss column for the Cavs, and really build that momentum heading into the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got a ways to go to catch Chicago. Right now, they're the 5th seed, and last I checked, they were about 3.5, or is it 4? It's either 3 or 4 games behind the Bulls, and the Bulls are slowly but surely starting to figure it out, too, with Derrick Rose. So right now, at this point, it seems that the East is probably a little bit better than we thought, because Washington is still playing great basketball, as is Toronto. And then, of course, you've got Atlanta, who just won their 16th straight game last night against the Brooklyn Nets. So, yeah, I mean, they still have a little bit of a ways to go. They're probably going to need some help from the teams up top. And eventually know that they have at least one more game left against Atlanta. I think they are done with the Bulls this season, at least at home. They might go to the United Center one more time. But, yeah, I mean, you still got the game on Friday against the Kings. You got all of February. You got all of March. And, a small handful of games in April. So there's no telling where they could end up. But they do have a little bit of a ways to go to catch up to those teams that have really – when the Cavs were on that 8 of 9 stretch that they dropped, they really made up some solid ground. So the Cavs still have a ways to go. I do think that they'll get there. I don't think that there is a team in the East that is as talented as the Cavaliers and as well structured as they are, at least right now at this point in time.
Now, I agree with you. Atlanta, by the way, 17. They stretched it to 17 last night. And, my son and I were talking about them last night, and he pulled out the Spurs analysis and comparison. I'm like, man, the Hawks don't scare me that much, to be honest with you, man. I know they're hot right now, but I don't know, man. No disrespect, but Kyle Korver doesn't scare me that much, man. No, I'm just kidding. But Hawks are a strong team, but I don't know, man. I could be wrong. I mean, I know that they handed it back to the Cavs, but the Cavs, when they weren't even rolling, blew that team out by 40 points, man. And something about that sticks with me, because that wasn't even the reconstructed Cavs after they made those trades. And you said something right as we wrap this up. You said something just a minute ago that really hits it when you said how immediate the impact of those trades were. I think everybody, even when we were saying, hey, this is going to help the team, I don't think anybody predicted an immediate help. They thought it'd be a couple weeks. It would take some time for it to grow together. But it was practically as soon as those guys joined the team, bam, this run started right off the end of those trades. So I think people were caught by surprise, maybe even within the organization, by how quickly those trades really did kind of get things moving in the right direction. It was an overnight change.
Yeah, and one quick note about Atlanta, Jerry. I'm kind of with you there. They've been a very solid regular season team for the last couple of years, but when it comes to the playoffs, it boils down to star power, and there's not many superstars on this team. I mean, Atlanta probably will end up sending 2 or 3 All-Stars to Phoenix, but still, I mean, that does not stack up to LeBron and Kyrie and Love and now Mozgov, in my opinion. So if the Cavs do end up facing the Hawks in the playoffs, I would take the Cavs hands down. I really would.
It's the Bulls. I watched the game. I don't know if you got a chance to see after the Cavs game the other night. I stayed up late and watched the Bulls and the Warriors. That was a hell of a game. They went to overtime, and the Warriors were whooping them. Most of the game, they were up double digits, and the Bulls came back, took it to overtime, and won that game. But they had a nice little 3-man big rotation going with Noah and Gasol and Mirotic. And I said, man, now that's going to be something. If the Cavs deal with these guys in the playoffs, they're going to have some matchup issues there. You're right. Chicago's starting to they're starting to figure things out just like the Cavs are. I think when it shakes out, the two teams that everybody thought would be the final two in the East, it may still play out that way with the Cavs and with the Bulls, not to look past Washington or Atlanta. But I think when it shakes out, those are still the two teams that battle it out to see who goes into the finals.
Yeah, the Bulls are still the team to beat in the East, in my humble opinion, and the Cavaliers are right there with them.
Yep, absolutely. Did you see that game with the Warriors? Man, I'll tell you, I got some respect.
I saw some highlights, and I definitely saw Derrick Rose's game-winning shot. I'll tell you what, when he's back and healthy, there's nothing that team can't do.
Absolutely. I agree with you, man. Be a lot of fun to watch as this season goes on. Next week, we'll know who's going to the All-Star game. Kyrie, come on, man. We can't even be asking the question, will he go? Of course he's going to go, man. And I think years from now, people will go, yeah, we made a mistake with that Lowry thing. But anyways, man, we'll talk about that. We'll see how they wrap up the first half. You and I will catch up next week, and we'll keep doing this thing, man. I'll tell you, this one, a lot more fun than usual, man. But let's see if they can give us some more fun moments along the way.
All right. Talk to you later, J-Rocc.
You got it. Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland. You guys can check him out, MTAFcleveland.com. You can tweet with Eddy at Eddy Jansen 30, EDDY Jansen 30 on Twitter. Let's take a break. Get you some news. Come on, Cavs in the background. I could just listen to that all day long. I'm telling you, my afro grows every time I hear that play. Let's take a break. Get you some news. Come on back and start hour 2. Dr. Football, Bill Chachkes joins us. He didn't drop 55 last night, but we'll still talk to him here. We'll look ahead. Super Bowl. We're getting into it last couple of days before the big games, and we'll talk about that with Dr. Football, Patriots and Seahawks, and we'll set you up for all of the rest of the things coming today. A lot of things to go. Hour 2, getting ready to roll on, but first, the news. Then we're back with Dr. Football talking Super Bowl next on the Sports Fix.
Gotta make it happen. Come on, yeah. Gotta make it happen. Keep on getting on. Gotta make it happen. Come on, yeah. Gotta make it happen. Come on, yeah.
We here at the Sports Fix want to make all of your dreams come true.
What about my dream?
Edith, I told you I can't build your candy house. It will fall down. The sun will melt the candy. It won't work.
It will if it never rains.
Oh, maybe not all of them. Get your fix on the Sports Fix.
This is head coach Gary Waters at Cleveland State, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your automotive car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. They're open late Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and open early Saturday so you can check it off your to-do list and get on with your day. They also have a newly remodeled service lounge and additional service bay just for Quick Lane oil changes. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is located at 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 Bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 Bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck. That's QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Today on Save on Taxes, we ask 100 people what costs less than filing your taxes with IRS Free File.
Car seat. Oh, a pair of shoes.
The correct answer is nothing. When you use Free File, you get brand name software, tax prep, e-filing, and help with the new healthcare provisions, all for free.
So, did we win anything?
Everybody wins. freefile.irs.gov. It's fast, it's safe, it's free.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
The Sports Fix is now available every day on the world's largest internet radio service, iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeartRadio app, subscribe to the show, and get your fix.
News break. Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi for Marshawn Lynch. This might be the happiest day of the year because it's the final day when players are required to speak to reporters at the Super Bowl. Not that Lynch will do much speaking. Patriots five-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Vince Wilfork says Lynch may not be much of a talker, but he sure can play.
And I've said it many a time, I think he's the best back in the game. With the ball in his hand, catching the ball, running the ball, blocking. yards after contact, you name it. I mean, all those areas he leads.
Lynch was fourth in the NFL in rushing this season with 1,306 yards. Only 3 players in tennis history have won more Grand Slam titles than Serena Williams, 18. In the semifinals of the Australian Open today, the 1 seed defeated fellow American Madison Keys 7-6, 6-2. 2 seed Maria Sharapova beat 10th seed Katerina Makarova in straight sets. 6 seed Andy Murray was a 4-set winner over 7 seed Tomas Berdych. No LeBron sprained wrist. Cavaliers beat Portland 99-94 thanks to Kyrie Irving's 55 points. Kentucky tries to extend its season opening winning streak to 20 tonight against Missouri, 9 Eastern time on ESPN.
Sports Center on ESPN Radio is brought to you by H&R Block. It's refund season. Come into Block and get your billions back, America. Call 1-800-HR-BLOCK or visit hrblock.com to make an appointment.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live, Hour 2, rolling on here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rocc back with you here. Jerry Myers welcoming you back. My man, Dr. Football Bill Chachkes is going to join me here momentarily on the hotline. We'll start talking some football. Super Bowl 49 on the horizon here. We'll talk about that in just a moment here. Real quick, before we roll on with the show, looking back at what we were talking about, Kevin Love a bit, and this is where I say, as long as we're still at this place while we're figuring things out, it's a good place to be. Think about this. We're talking about struggling. You're talking about trying to find your fit. Yet in January, 14 games in the month of January, nearly 35 minutes a game, Kevin Love still dropping 18 points a game, 11 rebounds a game for the Cavaliers. So again, I know, it's that's okay to me where we're at right now, trying to figure it out. That's still a contribution. It's not like, we've fallen off the deep end and the sky is falling. Now, if you want to have that conversation later, well, how much do we pay a guy that's an 18 and 11 guy? That's different. But that's free agency's question. Right now, I'll take a guy. I mean, look at, you're talking about assimilating. Remember assimilating Andrew Bynum into this team and how disruptive that was? When guys aren't having their way, their mojo's not going well, they're not flowing, we've seen how badly they can disrupt a team. I'll dig a guy who can struggle his way to a double-double every night and shrug his shoulders and say, we'll figure this thing out. That's a good place to be while you're in a place that maybe isn't as good. So just keep that in mind. While we're talking about a guy that's struggling, that's a good I'll take that level of struggle right there, Also, too, the Sacramento coming up. Last time Cavaliers played them, Kevin Love dropped 25 and 10 on the Kings. So we'll see what he does here coming up on Friday. We'll preview that tomorrow. Thanks to Eddy Jansen for joining us. Thanks to you guys for being with us. Thanks to Dr. Football, who's about to join me on the hotline as we switch and start talking some NFL, Super Bowl, all of that good stuff. Let's go to the phones. Dr. Football Bill Chachkes in the house. Dr. Football, how you doing, my friend?
J-Rocc, what's going on? And
hey, what's up?
It's good to be back with you.
Hey, good to have you. It's been about 2 weeks. By the way, you guys, Dr. Football's on the phone, which means you can't be, but you can keep the conversation going on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. And yeah, Dr. Football, you on the road doing your thing last week, and so here we come. It's been a couple of weeks. How did by the way, what were you doing? You were covering the convention. What were you doing here last week, my friend?
I was covering the Shooting and Hunting and Outdoor Trade Convention, which is the second largest convention in North America, next to the Consumer Electronics Show. And
there you go. And you told me something cool.
The last 3 years, they set records for for attendance all 3 years, 65, 67, and 68,000 attendees.
Man, there you go, man. And you told me something cool, too, while you were doing that. You had some interviews going on, man. While what was it, Ted Nugent? I saw that one. You texted me and talked to me about what you had going on, man. Some fun times.
I interviewed Ted Nugent, and he said if it was up to him, the NFL would be, the leadership would be disbanded, and it would be run by a committee of the people.
Well, if it was up to him, a lot of things in this world would be different. If it was up to Ted Nugent, that's for sure. But hey, man, I'm with it, man. Stranglehold, baby. You know, so good stuff, man. And now you're back here on the show, and we're rolling into the week to talk football. Dr. Football, perfect timing as we've got the Super Bowl here on tap. You wouldn't know it by the amount of, or should say lack of amount of discussion people have given. I was mentioning earlier this week on the show, and I'll say it even to this day. I know that come Sunday, there'll be an overdose of coverage of this game, but it makes me a bit just upset as a sports fan. And I would say this if it was the World Series or if it was the NBA Finals as well, Stanley Cup, doesn't matter, that you've got a huge game coming, your championship game with the two best teams in your league, and literally no conversation has taken place about the game all the way up until now. There was the nonsense of media day. That happens every year. But all the nonsense of the football, Deflategate, all of that stuff. I mean, it just amazes me that you didn't just end up with a Super Bowl, but you ended up with one that was the two best teams that everybody wanted to see play each other in the Super Bowl. And it has been overlooked as much as it has so far.
You know, it really has. And when I start to hear stories, Jerry, about, they're thinking of putting iPhone chips in the football for this game so that people could actually track the game on their phones, I'm like, this is when, as much as I love technology, this is when technology is inserting itself too much into sports.
Yeah, well, you know what? Well, they already have stuff like that, by the way. Just on a side note, I saw the NBA is big on that. I don't know if you guys out there have heard some of that. Speaking of just putting chips in things, they do that now in the NBA where David Griffin could sit down and literally pull up charts and know every second of every game, every movement that each player made, every exertion of energy, when they ran, when they walked, so you could literally track the full. It's amazing the effectiveness that they can track with that. But you're right. I'll tell you what, I've been joking. I think in that 17, 18 hours of pregame coverage that you usually get, somebody, I guarantee you, will be doing a special about the preparation of the footballs for this game based on making sure that they don't get deflated or whatnot, man. I'm telling you, what I still think this whole thing was a bunch of ridiculousness, but it's at least all that crap is in the past here. We'll have to hear about it for 6 months after this game, but at least that's in the past now. Now everybody can undermine a Patriots victory if they get one. They've got the perfect excuse to do it. But again, we're not talking about it, just like everybody else, and that's what pisses me off. Nobody's talking about this game here, the Seahawks and the Patriots, and what should be a hell of a football game.
Yeah, and you know, when you think about the matchup, you look at two teams that have defenses and offenses that can match up well against each other. You almost want to sit down and say, well, we have a 0-0 first half? I don't know. And that doesn't mean I'm telling you guys to all run out and play 0-0 on your boxes either, okay? You didn't hear that from me. But, you have two very, very staunch defenses and two offenses that have usually find a way to penetrate difficult defenses. So I'll be interested to see who scores first and how quickly and in what shape or form that the drive takes. Will it be a 12, 13-yard running drive with only short passes, or will it be 3 or 4 longer passes down the field that connect really quick?
It's funny, too, you started off talking about that, because somewhere in our conversation I was going to bring up, I saw a story about the proposition bets. You know, obviously every year those are a big thing. We talk about them here on the show, just the goofy little bets that people can make. And it's funny that you brought that up about the defenses, because right off the bat, one of the articles that I saw said it's the president of the Superbook in Vegas. And he said the sign that people will bet anything. They have one ticket where somebody bet Seattle scoring 4 points in the game. It's a 9,999 to 1 proposition bet, but one person actually placed a bet on a 4-2 Seahawks victory, which actually 5 people bet on that, and that one's a 5,000 to 1 wager. I mean, it's just amazing, some of these, but I do always get a kick out of the fact that people will bet on anything. Cats will bet on who wins the coin toss in this thing, on this, that, and the other thing. Some of the ones that the sports books are showing, some of the biggest ones that bettors are really hitting on heavy here, the biggest money on a safety here in the game. 95% of the bets one of the sports books took in had people prop betting that, yes, there would be a safety, a sign that they know that these are two strong defenses out there.
Right, and you know what? It's so funny. We stayed at Harris for the convention, and the Harris Sportsbook had a bet on whether or not the Seahawk will be allowed to show up at University of Phoenix at the Cardinals Stadium. So I thought that was
the actual Seahawk.
Well.
Yeah, and then people will bet on that. That's crazy, you
yes.
know. But you know what?
Yes.
Some of the ones like I go on some every year to check them out. I'll go on Bodog or one of the online sports books, and I'll check out all the things they're taking. And it's always like which celebrity gets shown first on the camera, you know. And which in the one year it was funny when they had the Mannings in it, because it was, you know, amount of time before, you know, Archie Manning was shown on camera. They'll find anything, man. And as long as you got two guys on a different side, then they can take some action on this thing.
Yeah, and I think it was funny that they even had those odds posted on the chalkboard, and that's from the concierge booth at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse up the elevator from the actual casino floor, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh man, that's a cottage industry there, my man. You know, a couple other things too. The first touchdown, the top two leaders here on the books are Gronk and Russell Wilson, which would make the most sense. And I'll tell you what, let's talk a little bit about that. Joking about the things that people bet on, I just get a kick out of some of those goofy asides that come out of it here. But it is going to be so interesting to me to see the way this game plays out, because you have two incredibly good defensive teams. You've got teams that are built from within, that build their own. We talked about this yesterday on the show. That draft well, develop well. And when I say draft well, I mean drafting and undrafted free agents, but they develop their own guys. You've got two teams. I just think they're very similar here, and I really do believe it's one of those seasons where you have the best and the best. There's no debate like, oh, well, I wonder what would happen if the Colts were in this game, or oh, if Peyton was in this game. No, it played out to where you've got your number one and your number 1A against each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think as much as I'm disappointed by the outcome of the playoffs, you have to, even begrudgingly, you have to admit, and you have to, not shake your head over this one, because, you know, the Seahawks and the Patriots proved to be the two best teams down the stretch in the regular season as well as the playoffs. So it's just a matter of now. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, I was letting you finish. I was going to say, as much as people point to, you know, the escape earlier in the week against Green Bay, only a good team could take advantage of the coaching mistakes that allowed you to get back into that game. An average team doesn't win that game, even with the other team trying to give it away. You know, they still had to go out there and come from behind improbably and win that game. And then once they tied it, the snowball was downhill. The Green Bay didn't have a chance. You could see the confidence in Seattle. Once they got back to that, overtime was a joke. It was boom, touchdown, this thing's over. We're not even messing around. But to counter the argument that they escaped, I say you had to be truly one of the best teams to get out of there, even with the other team making mistakes like that. And they did. They found a way to get out there and do it. So here you go. And you got Belichick, and you've got, again, all the storylines here in play. You've got the old sage quarterback and the young flavor of the month that's doing his thing now, not waiting for later. You've got, the story of, can this defense that's so great for Seattle, can they stop their second consecutive Hall of Fame quarterback in the Super Bowl? All of these things, again, play into the storylines that I think have been ignored for stupidity for the last 10 days. And if I'm the NFL, man, all joking aside, I would not, but they do appreciate it because it kept everybody from talking. Let me ask you, all right, I brought it up. Let me ask you, we haven't talked in 2 weeks. I honestly feel that the NFL loved all of this conversation about deflated footballs. I would personally, if you were looking for a conspiracy, think that they may have set this whole thing up on purpose because it stopped 2 weeks of media around the world hammering them about domestic violence and Ray Rice and Adrian
And
Peterson.
not only that, and it's great that you brought that up, J-Rocc. I was going there, too, if you didn't. Not only that, but it gives the league an opportunity to take a deep breath and say, what do we have to beat off our backs now? And if you noticed, normally in previous years, the press handout that we would get for the Super Bowl, whether you're attending or not, we all get access to the media, Super Bowl media day information and whatnot, and all the releases, and you get the fact book right on the NFL's website, their media website. Normally, that stuff's not ready until like about the Thursday before the game, and the only thing you're waiting for is slip cards for the the depth chart. All that stuff was ready yesterday.
Well, I'm telling you. If you think about it, I mean, being realistic, I always make fun of those conspiracy theory guys, but to me, if you look at it, all the proof you need is the fact that the NFL is not going to figure this out until after the Super Bowl now. That's all the proof that you need, because there's no way that you could have a true tainted championship game and a true potential for somebody to have cheated at the highest level, and you're going to put it off until after your championship game. I mean, to me, that just is, on top of everything else, a sign that we did exactly what we wanted to do. We had you talking about tomfoolery for the last 11 days, and you saved us a whole bunch of really serious questions. And then guess what? Coincidentally, right after we stopped talking about deflated footballs, now all we're going to do is talk about a guy refusing to talk to the media. Again, they were able to avoid all the hard, serious questions and deflect them with a bunch of nonsense. And I think that this was a well-orchestrated plan by the NFL on how they attacked this 2 weeks between the championships and the Super Bowl. You can call me crazy all you want, but I see little green men in that bush, and I don't care. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm just saying,
I don't
man.
Disagree. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you because the people who are doing media at the league, Brian McCarthy and his crew, are some of the smartest people out there in the business. They could be the head people, the head media person at any team in the league, and they choose to work directly for the league, probably for less money. Because
think about it.
They know what they're doing.
Let me give you the thought process. Think about it. If you're sitting around and you're having meetings and you're high level NFL people and you're like, okay, we know what's about to happen. I mean, during these 10 days, they're going to send all of these media, thousands of them. They're going to pound us about Ray Rice and Greg Hardy and Adrian Peterson and Roger Goodell, and they're going to hit us from all angles. Well, how do we distract people from that? Well, you can't give them a fluff story because the media is not going to fall for that. They're just going to know that we're just trying to, hey, look at the charity work we do. Well, How do you distract them? You give them another controversy. If you give them a fresh controversy, now everybody is focused on that, and they're putting out the brush fire, and meanwhile, you're moving your Trojan horse right past the front gates. Nobody's paying attention because they're putting out the brush fire. The media wouldn't have been distracted by any normal story or any positive story. You could only distract them by putting more chum in the water and sending the sharks over to a different part of the ocean. And that is the genius about what the NFL just tried to pull off. But they did pull it off, because guess what? Did you guys hear any big media articles? You know, think about Media Day. They send thousands of people to Media Day. Did you guys hear any big exposés, any more? Did you even hear Ray Rice's name in the last 10 days? After this season.
Not only that, Jerry, but normally we would hear stories about, which South American or Mexican female reporter came just to get themselves their photograph taken in their.
Well, that's a different level. That's the Media Day stupidity right
with
there.
As many players as possible, and you didn't see that either.
And you know what? Let's segue right there. Forget the footballs. Now let's get to one quick line about Media Day. I said this a little bit earlier in the week. The Media Day thing. Okay, I agree personally, as a business person, that Marshawn Lynch is being ridiculous. I do believe that if it's part of the responsibilities of what you do to make the money, I mean, man, you go and you meet with the media. You cut it short, that's fine. I'm not saying that you got to be the most outgoing person. Bill Belichick is not the most outgoing person, but he does not stand there and say, I'm only standing here because I have to. He gives you yes and no answers and gets out of there, but he doesn't spit in the face of the process. So I get why people are mad at Marshawn Lynch. I'm not making the biggest deal out of it. I think at the same time that you have to fine him, because if you let the star players not show up, then pretty soon Media Day is a punter, a kicker, and a couple of backup offensive linemen, and none of the star players are going to show up because.
The other thing is, Jerry, people don't realize. I've been saying it for years. The kid's a nice kid when he wants to be, but he has a speech impediment. And he doesn't really want to be up on stage answering a lot of questions.
People don't talk about that.
Speech impediment.
People don't talk about that. He's not being Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman likes to be difficult because he likes to make political statements. He likes to make statements. And I get where he's coming from about, being told what to do and when to do it. I understand that. But that's not the Marshawn Lynch thing, and that's another thing that people don't see either. There is part of that to it as well that I think gets left behind. But here's where I stop it all, is how can we make a big deal out of this when you guys create a circus where you literally give out media passes, not for the game, but for Media Day? Nobody gets denied a pass. There's radio stations that hold contests so that the stripper that looks the best with glasses on gets to go in a bikini and show up to Media Day so she gets to ask a question, and it's a big deal. Like, they make a joke out of them. Like I say, they'll send like you said, you'll have the South American radio station will send a 6-year-old child to interview some people, and that's fine, but that's a circus atmosphere. You are creating this dumb atmosphere where a player has to sit there for an hour and be asked what his favorite flavor of M&Ms is, and all of these things, which is fine until you get to the point that the stripper is asking me the questions just because it's a gimmick on a radio station in Tallahassee that got a media pass and whatever, because they credential everybody for that Media Day scrum. So you can't really be all sanctimonious about it when it's a joke to begin with. So lighten up, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, really, I try to explain to people what it's all about and, what the business is. And, they don't really get it. So I don't feel it's my duty to have to repeat it over and over and over again. I covered 11 Super Bowls. I've been to 11 Media Days. This is the first one that it's in my current home state, and I'm not attending. Why? Because I could do the same thing sitting in front of my television and talking on the phone with you that I could do down there in Tempe at the stadium and not to have to bang my head, in the stone, in a stone column for parking, and drive down. It takes me 90 minutes to get down there, and then another hour to get from the interchange from the exit into the parking lot.
You're listening to the Sports Fix, Dr. Football, my man, talking about the Super Bowl here. I've got to interrupt this conversation. I actually just got this sent to me just a moment ago, and I want to segue. We were going to go this way anyway here. We'll circle back at the end. I'm going to ask you.
Breaking news. Go for it.
Well, it's not breaking, but it's right there. I wanted to ask you. I'll get your prediction on who's going to win the Super Bowl in a minute. The other thing I wanted to touch on, what's happened with Josh Gordon. Supposedly fails another test here. Going to be out for at least a year coming forward. But I actually just had this forwarded to me. As you know, media all over the place has stated their opinions. There was a really harsh Charles Barkley statement a couple of days ago that said Josh Gordon is going to die if somebody doesn't help him. Josh Gordon has penned an open letter to everybody, and I'm actually reading it for the first time here, but this has been released to media within the last 10 minutes or so. It's an open letter to Charles Barkley and company. I'm going to just read it here if you'll indulge me for a minute, and then we can talk about this. The subtitle is, "Yes, I have a problem, but it's not the one all of you seem to think I have," by Josh Gordon. So let's go with this here. It says, "Dear Sir Charles, Stephen A. Smith, Chris Carter, and other interested parties, thank you for your recent outpouring of concern about my well-being." This is clearly a very sarcastic opening paragraph. In what has been a difficult time for my family, friends, and fans, you and those like you have taken it upon yourself to express just how much you care about me and my future. For that, I am truly appreciative. The thing is, though, you don't even know me. Chuck, you have never so much as shook my hand, let alone exchanged a single word with me. Very few of you have, to be honest. Respectfully speaking, your worry over my problems with substance abuse and my twisting descent into darkness and apparently my impending death is misplaced, mostly because you have very little idea what you're actually talking about. None of you do, even those of you who seem curiously obsessed with the goings-on in my life. You're done with me, huh, Stephen A. Smith? That presumes that we ever actually got started. How exactly can you be done with someone that you've never had a meaningful conversation with besides a quick first take spot? Regardless, I am relieved that you no longer feel the need to harbor sympathy for me, mostly because I never asked for it, never wanted it, and certainly never needed it. I'm not a victim here, and I never claimed to be one. And Chris Carter, your level of interest in my life is even more puzzling, considering we have never met either. In addition to being concerned about me, like when you publicly called for the Browns to cut me so I could learn the same lesson you learned, you also stated as a fact that, quote, "We are dealing with addiction here." Know this. We are not dealing with anything, Chris. We are not the same. Not at all. So, in the interest of lifting the heavy burden of my welfare off of your collective consciences, I'd like to set the record straight about a few things. First, words cannot express the remorse and regret that I feel over this latest incident. I acknowledge that the repeated transgressions have led up to this point and have damaged my credibility, and for that, the only person to blame is me. I have let down many in Cleveland, my Browns teammates, our hard-working coaching staff, the team's ownership, and a loyal fan base who wants nothing more than to win. Playing in Cleveland is different than in many other cities. We feel the fans' pain. We know how important it is to them. Also, I've disappointed my family and close friends who have stood by me no matter how tough things have been at certain points in my life. Believe me, there have been more dark days than I care to remember. Most importantly, I have failed myself again, and he put that in bold print. I failed myself when I started smoking marijuana regularly as a young teenager. I failed myself when I ruined a once-in-a-lifetime chance to be Robert Griffin III's running mate during his Heisman Trophy winning season at Baylor. I failed myself again when I didn't check with the league office to make sure that my doctor-prescribed codeine-based medication was allowed under the NFL guidelines. I again failed myself when I was arrested for driving a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level above the legal limit. I failed myself again when I missed a team walkthrough late in the season and was suspended for the final game of the year. But you know what, Charles, Stephen A., Chris Carter, and everyone else? I have succeeded. I succeeded by escaping a youth riddled with poverty, gang violence, and very little guidance or support. I succeeded by narrowly avoiding a life of crime that managed to sink its clutches into almost all of my childhood friends. I have succeeded by working tremendously hard on my craft and my body to even get the chance to play professional football for a living. And contrary to popular belief, I succeeded by overcoming my long-standing relationship with weed because I knew I was risking my future. Truth is, I have not smoked marijuana since before I was drafted by the Browns in 2012, and there are years' worth of drug tests to prove it. So then you ask, how did I get here? That's easy. I messed up. But to understand why I messed up, you need to understand the Josh Gordon that existed before I entered the NFL. I don't speak of it often, and less so publicly. But I faced a fair amount of hardship growing up. My mother was pretty much out of the picture, or my father was pretty much out of the picture, which left my mother to fend for herself with 3 sons at home. She did the best she could, but there were large stretches of time where I was completely alone with no supervision, no one to guide me, and no one to keep me in line. We lived in a poor section of Houston. To say it was a rough place would be putting it lightly. The other kids in the neighborhood weren't well off, but we always felt like we had even less to our name. We moved at least 7 times, and things were so bad, there were days I would come home from school to no electricity, no heat, and no hot water. Over time, particularly after my older brothers moved out, I started hanging out with the wrong kind of people, the kind who would think nothing of not only carrying guns, but using them. Back then, smoking marijuana wasn't an addiction. We were boys. It was just what everyone did. It was everywhere, just like alcohol. So to Charles, Stephen A., Chris, you judge me now, but what if you came from where I come from? Heck, maybe you did experience similar upbringings, but I wouldn't know because I don't know you. Each of you have dealt with more than your fair share of self-inflicted controversy. That I do know. Again, I make no excuses for my past. The culture didn't make me do anything that I didn't want to do. But when you judge me without actually knowing me, you deny the existence of the world that I come from. Later, when I went to college, it was a dream come true, but in retrospect, I wasn't ready for it. I had to have the opportunity taken away from me before I could really look within myself and decide what I wanted for my future. Was I going to continue to break the rules and get high, or was I going to get straight and make the most of my God-given talent? I have made my choice when it came to the NFL, and I have not wavered. Now, I messed up again. It happened about 4 weeks ago. As everyone knows, I missed a considerable portion of this past football season because I was suspended by the league. The details in relation to my reinstatement are important to understand. In connection with my DUI, the league, in consideration of the fact that my blood alcohol level was just 0.01 over the legal limit, they agreed to shorten my punishment from 4 games to 2. These games were tacked on to my 8-game suspension that I had gotten on account of inadvertently inhaling secondhand marijuana smoke last offseason. This just gets better. The punishment, while harsh, given what my lab results clearly showed, including a backup sample that was under the threshold, was a just and fair punishment. I foolishly put myself in a precarious situation, one in which I could have easily avoided had I thought more clearly about the ramifications of my actions and who I chose to spend my time with. As a strict condition of my reinstatement, I had to agree to abstain from drinking for the rest of the season and submit to an alcohol screen as part of my drug testing during the season. Did I think that was excessive, given I don't have an issue whatsoever with alcohol? Yes, I did. Did I think it was hypocritical that a league making hundreds of millions of dollars a year off of beer sponsorships was telling me not to drink? Yes, I did. But did I blink at the condition? No. My primary concern was and is being the best football player I can be. I didn't view it as a punishment or a sacrifice. On January 2nd of this year, just days after our season ended earlier than we hoped, my actions during the prior offseason definitely contributed to our failure to make the playoffs. It killed me seeing our guys fight so hard when I couldn't be out there with them. After that, I boarded a private flight to Las Vegas with several teammates. During the flight, I had 2 beers and 2 drinks. It was the first time I had consumed a drop of alcohol since July 4th, the day I received my DUI. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not much of a drinker. Even calling me a social drinker would be an exaggeration. But at that moment, on that flight, I made a choice. The wrong choice, as it turns out. Upon landing, I received the all too familiar notice by phone call that I was to report to a testing location within 4 hours. I failed the test, obviously, and the rest is history, colored by media speculation and fake outrage. In the end, of course, I failed myself. It doesn't matter that I thought the league-imposed restriction on drinking expired at the end of the regular season. What matters is that I didn't confirm whether that was the case. Now, my latest oversight has further jeopardized my relationship with my team and our fans, my reputation, and maybe even my career. So that's it, Charles Barkley and company. These are the actual facts surrounding my situation, and these are my actual words. What comes next is uncertain. I haven't decided whether I'm going to appeal the latest suspension. That's a matter for my agent to discuss. For those of you who traffic in lies and innuendo with seemingly no consequences for your actions, I really don't know how you get away with it. What I do know is this. I am not a drug addict. I am not an alcoholic. I am not someone who deserves to be dissected and analyzed like a tragic example of everything that can go wrong for a professional athlete. And I'm not going to die on account of the troubled state you wrongly believe my life to be. I'm a human being with feelings, emotions, scars, and flaws, just like anyone else. I make mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm a good person, and I will persevere. If I have a quote-unquote problem, it is that I'm only 23 years old with a lot left to learn. I've come a long way from those mean Houston streets, but it's clear that I can be a better me, one with kids coming up to me for selfies and autographs that they can be proud of. I want that future for myself, and I truly believe that what I'm going through now will make me stronger. I believe that my future is bright. If you see me someday, Chuck, Stephen A., Chris, or any other well-intentioned person to whom this letter is directed, please come over, shake my hand, and say hello. I won't hold a grudge, but I will expect you to admit that you were wrong about me. Sincerely, Josh Gordon. Man, that was if I'd have known that was that long, I'd have gave you the Cliff Notes version. But, all right, right off the bat, you heard it. What are your thoughts on what you just heard, Bill?
Well, honestly, J-Rocc, I think by doing that, he did the best possible thing he could have done for himself as far as public relations and damage control is concerned, because, hey, he put these guys on notice. He said, you guys can comment all you want. None of you know me. The only guys that can comment about me are my teammates. Now, if any of that had come from, any other person, we might say, well, it's just the usual thing. But here's a kid pouring his heart out to everyone, telling everyone, hey, I made a mistake. It's my mistake to make, and you're not going to find me sitting in the Maytag box on a corner, with a bottle of Ripple in my hand just because I had 2 beers on a flight to Vegas.
Well, All right, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here because that was a lot, and I was reading it. So, to be totally honest, I would really love the opportunity when we get off the air so I can sit down, reread that thing myself, and actually form an opinion that I can literally like stand behind here. But just because as I'm reading it, I'm not able to completely register everything I'm reading. Obviously, part of me digs where you're coming from, Bill, and I can get that part of this. Another part of me, though, parts of that really felt like a whole lot of blaming a whole lot of other people as well. Like I get it.
I don't think he blamed anybody. He took the blame on himself.
Well, I hear you.
You know,
there's
primarily
a whole lot of people.
There's
a whole lot of people that came from some mean streets that got their way up out of it, and I'm just saying. But that's why I don't want to go crazy right now because I really want to sit down. That was a long reading right there. I want to sit down and reread that thing as I'm not reading it live on the radio, as I'm able to sit down and look at this thing. And that's why I don't want to go crazy because I may sit down later and read this and have a totally different opinion than I do right now. But there was definitely some sarcasm in there. He was clearly taking some shots at quite a few people. And I'll tell you what, now, outside of the did he secondhand smoke, did he fail this, did he fail that, one thing that I definitely can appreciate is his thoughts at the very beginning about a whole bunch of people that have never even said hello to me before that all of a sudden are concerned about my well-being. Of course, I can dig where he's coming from on that. But, look, this is, again, there's going to be different sides of where people look at this. Oh, you know what, too? Something else that I can quickly pull out of that is that there was clearly somebody stooging Josh Gordon off right off the bat. You can't tell me that come on, while we're looking at little green men in the bush, is there a coincidence that the man's on the plane taking a couple of drinks, steps off the plane and gets the phone call that he's due for a test? I'm just saying, somebody you may need to look at the log of who else was on that plane and start eliminating the suspects of who took a phone to the league, because somebody said, hey, you guys might want to drug test Josh Gordon. That just sounds like a bit of a coinky-dink to me how that works.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
You think about it, as I'm reading it, and he goes, as soon as I step off the plane, I get the phone call. I'm like, come on. I don't need to know math to put two and two together on that one, man. Somebody either set you up or somebody put you in a bad position there. Again, you went out there and did it, but there was clearly somebody standing behind you going, ooh, let's get him. We got him. So, it is what it is. Again, I want to have the chance to be totally fair, go back, reread that whole thing, and really begin to process it. But, hey, it is definitely a different approach than a whole lot of people take in situations like very thought out, very it was well spoken, well worded, So from that aspect, I'm with you there. That definitely is a different tack to take. A lot of people could have a lot of people would have simply said, hey, talk to my agent, or people believe what they want. He's done that before. He's tweeted that people can believe what they want and he knows the truth. At least that
the other thing, Jerry, is if I'm his agent or his lawyer, I want to know who's on that plane also, because if that's a teammate that did that, okay, that's really low.
I mean, that's a stooge move right there for sure. That's in wrestling, that's what we call them, stooges. Somebody who walks up to you and goes, hey, man, the office, man, they're not paying us right. They're not giving, yeah, I agree with you, man. And then as soon as you walk out, they call the office and go, man, you should have heard Jerry. He was on the plane talking, man, he doesn't like his spot. He doesn't like his paycheck. And next thing you know, you're like, man, who stooged me off to the office? It was your boy. And that sounds like the kind of situation that he may have just found himself in right there. But again,
at least, the Bronx, we call that a rat fig.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about, man. And but I'll tell you too, to be so detailed and lay it out there, I'll be interested in the next few days to see if anything comes out that refutes that. Because when you're very specific with your timeline like that, you do set yourself up. If you're not being truly genuine with people with your story, then you set yourself up for somebody to come in and go, well, that's not true. I can prove that that's not true, or this or that or whatever. So maybe that, because there was a lot of detail in there. Again, most agents would have told their client to release a 2-line statement that says there's been a whole lot of bad stuff said about me. It's not all true. You can believe what you want, but I'm going to be just fine. But he instead penned that. That was an oracle there for sure that we just read there. But again, at least. Different and an attempt to put something out there. I don't know what you guys think if you just heard me read it. Ron Graham just posted it on one of our Facebook pages for it. I'll share that thing out there. So just like me, you guys can sit down after the show and reread that as well. But, interesting to see. I'll tell you what, for all the knucklehead things that have gone on, the thought that went into penning something like that, assuming that it was handwritten and it wasn't a PR job that somebody else put together, but it felt pretty, it felt true to word.
Genuine. Genuine.
Yeah, but true to the person. It felt true to the person,
right.
to Josh Gordon, not like it was necessarily a public relations release or something like that. Because sometimes you can tell that the PR department wrote it up and that the player didn't have anything to do with it. So the fact that he can get that deep into it and thought and all of that and be that reflective, there's something salvageable there. Whether it's for the Browns to worry about, we can talk about that another day, whether that's going to happen in the NFL at all, because he's still, you can come out with all the apologies and all the letters you want. He's going to be out for another year here in the NFL, no matter what. At this point, all Josh Gordon's doing is putting work in to try to salvage something after that to get another opportunity, whether it's with the Browns or with another team. But being able to go that deep into thought and be that reflective does give me pause to go, hey, there's something in there, man. That's a side of Josh Gordon that I maybe necessarily didn't see coming, at least so far, because his only reactions to stuff have been the short, cutting, biting remarks, the tongue-in-cheek, well, don't believe everything you hear, the typical athlete brush-off. That was much more in-depth for sure.
Yeah, it sure was, and with that letter, he's trying to show people that he's not the idiot that some of these guys make him out to be. He's obviously a very smart person, and he realizes the mistakes he made from childhood all the way up to now, and he's willing to do what he needs to do to deal with them, and that's all you could really hope for.
So we'll see, man. That's something interesting that came while we were doing this here. I said, you know what, I got to jump in here and read this as soon as I had it sent over to me. We'll follow up on that, of course, a lot of time here after this weekend. Then all the teams move into that mode of starting to work for the offseason. You and I will have plenty of conversations that involve the name Gordon, and Manziel will probably come up once or twice, and we may use the term draft 3 or 4 times before we're done here, but all of that good stuff to come. But you know what? It doesn't come until after this weekend. Let's circle back to where we started. Super Bowl 49 on the horizon. Who do you think takes this one, man? Again, if it's Seattle, they've knocked off Brady and Manning back-to-back, and I think they seal their spot as one of the top 5. And I'm talking about a 2-year run, one of the top 5 defenses as a group that you talk about when you start throwing out the 85 Bears, when you start getting into the Steelers and the Vikings and some of those Ds, Cowboys, Doomsday defense. I think that the Legion of Boom puts itself in that top 5-ish discussion if they finish it off. Even if they don't, but especially if they finish it off with a victory here. Meanwhile, of course, you got the other side just looking to add another trophy to what has been a true dynasty in the NFL. Who do you got here, man?
People don't even realize that these teams, like I said at the beginning, are so evenly matched. I'm going to tell you straight out. I'm taking Seattle. I have no love for the Patriots. That's true. But I just don't think they have the gas to beat this team begrudgingly. Okay, because we'd all rather see 2 other teams in there. But I have to give the momentum to Seattle. Russell Wilson just looks like a world beater right now. He looks like David with 100 rubber bands against Goliath. He really does. I think their receivers are going to pull together against the Patriots' defensive secondary, which is probably the one weak spot the Patriots have. I don't know. I just don't see, I don't see how you could pick against Seattle unless you're really, really, really brainwashed.
Man, see, I hear you, but I look at how close Green Bay came to winning that game and really the mistakes that McCarthy made, and I gave credit to Seattle because you've got to be good enough to take advantage of those and win that, man. But Bill Belichick doesn't make those mistakes, man, and I don't know. I think the Patriots are going to step up for the challenge and knock off the Seahawks, man. And before the season, I had the Seahawks repeating this thing. I think I may be wrong for backing off of that. Usually that's how it goes for me. When I back off of what I said all along, I usually screw it up when I should have just stuck with where I was at to begin with. But, man, I don't know. Maybe it's the chip on the shoulder over this football thing and the latest whatever. But, man, I don't know. I think the Patriots find a way to pull it off. Either way, I do think that we're going to see one of the better Super Bowls in the game's history as far as an actual game. There's the curse of death for it. But, man, I'm going to go the opposite of a lot of people. I think New England finds a way to win this one here, and then everybody can undermine it right off the bat and say that they cheated their way to a Super Bowl. But I'm going to go the opposite. I think it's a hell of a game, and I think it comes down late. I wouldn't even be surprised if we get an overtime Super Bowl here because I can see this game coming down to the final minutes, final possessions. We may get to see that new overtime in the Super Bowl here on the stage, man. So I could see that being a possibility. But I think New England's going to shock everybody and do it. I'm going to stick with Belichick and the Patriots here on this one, man. So I'm going to have to go against you. But either way, man, I think it's going to be great. What do you think?
I think you're going to see the downfall of the New England Patriots reign is going to start with this weekend in that game. And I think there'll be a lot of fines paid out by Mr. Kraft and company. Even though he's a fellow Landsman, he's a fellow Jew like I am. He's with his coach Belichick and the way his organization operates, he's doing it the wrong way. And anybody that I talk to that is still around these guys, they all tell you the same thing. That when other teams' personnel people start talking about it, that means that there's a little more than just a hint of truth to it.
As far as which aspect?
Just in general, that there have been some other guys coming out, some other front office people at other teams coming out and saying that they've been questioning the way the Patriots have been doing things for some time now.
Well, you know what? That's see, I have a different take of that, man, because I see it as sour grapes. I see it as this. They can't possibly be. He can't be that good. They can't keep finding ways to win with guys you never heard of and drafting guys that you didn't scout. Where do they find these guys? They have to be cheating, man. I just think that.
These are big guys, Jerry. These are all adult men who have been around football business a long time. They have no reason to throw sour grapes around. Okay, when you hear somebody, and I don't want to say any names, but when you hear someone who I have a great deal of respect for come out and say, it's a lot like Richard Nixon. Okay, he did it until he got caught. The difference is Belichick keeps doing it and keeps getting caught. And when are they going to say something? When are they going to put their feet down and stop it?
You're not the only one that's phrased it. I take umbrage. How do they keep cheating and keep getting caught? That I don't agree with. I mean, you got the Spygate incident. I get, man. I don't even believe anybody was messing with the footballs. And even if somebody wants to believe that nonsense from this week, the Patriots played better when the footballs were reinflated. They dominated when the footballs were right. They actually would have been hurting themselves with the flat football. So I just think that I don't buy it at all this year. I mean, you want to tell me they cheated 10 years ago with Spygate or whatnot, all right. But, I mean, I don't get where you say they continue, and I don't mean you. Other people say that. Where is the pattern of continuously cheating? You know what I mean? Where is that pattern? Because whenever I ask somebody that question, they go, Spygate. Okay, well, What else do you got? Because that's what I mean. Where is the conspiracy, the pattern of corrupt behavior that's going on here, man? Because I don't see that. I do see a team like every other team that will take, the letter of the law to it. And I agree that Belichick's that guy. But I don't have a problem with being that guy. I would have a problem with blatantly deflating footballs to get an advantage. I just don't believe that actually happened. I believe that was all a bunch of hocus pocus. But that's the only thing I go to. I get you on Spygate, but when people say pattern of corruption and cheating and over, I just don't know where the other examples are.
Fair enough. There are a lot of little things that he does that irk people. Okay, and I'm not going to get out there and throw rocks at the guy from 2,500 miles away. Although he's here already. He's in my home state. I could drive 90 minutes and throw rocks at him if I want. It doesn't make a difference. The guy's attitude. It's just how the guy's attitude, the way he operates with that. Well, it's in the rule book. Look it up. Not everything's in the rule book, and it's not always about what's in the rule book. Okay, and there's a reason why Bill Parcells didn't give this guy a recommendation when he left.
See, it's just a fundamental difference in the way we look. You're on the side that a lot of people I know are, and where I differ is, to me, where you would say it irks you that a guy would pour through the rule book to find a loophole that he could slip through. To me, that's what I pay you money for. If I'm an owner and you're the coach, everybody does everything the same. I'm paying you to find the things that nobody else is doing. And to me, there's a difference between finding the holes in the rule book that I can do and cheating, because there's a difference. To me, cheating implies blatantly breaking the rules. And to me, if your coach doesn't stay up and study the rule book and learn these openings, then I have a better coach than you do. That's the way I look at it as a businessman, is I hired a better employee than you, because my employee will stay up all night and dig through the rule book and find me that opening in the tax code that saved my business $100,000 in taxes this year. You can tell me that it was looking for a loophole, but if your guy didn't save you $100,000 and my guy did, then my tax guy is better than yours. Does that make sense?
Well, let me ask you. Let me leave you with this, Sherry. Let me ask you this. Okay. Did anybody ever accuse Vince Lombardi of cheating?
I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering if you go back in that era, it's easy to look back when we genuflect before people now and you put him up on a pedestal. But when he was dominating things, how many people said that he was monkey? How many people accused Paul Brown of cheating the game by sending in messenger guards and hiding guys on the taxi squad and inventing things that had never been done before? How many people said that Paul Brown was irking them because he was skirting the rules of football? How many people said
that's true? But how many championships did he win? Okay, the rules
8 of them, baby. 8 of them, brother. You know what I mean?
Changed for a reason.
The first time that somebody invented the zone blitz, you telling me that guys didn't say that was cheating? Because you can't send all these guys to everybody's got to be in their position. What is this? What is this zone we're mixing? We don't know who's going to rush. That's not fair. No, it is fair, and you better figure out how to deal with it, because that guy found the next evolution, just like 4 offensive linemen and 2 ineligible tackles.
Lombardi stayed up all night pouring over tapes before every game. In fact, if anything, it probably killed him, because he ignored his ulcer that turned into stomach cancer, that he didn't have an ulcer, he had stomach cancer for all those years that he could have been saved. Instead, he drank Pepto-Bismol that he kept in his pocket all the time. Let's face it, he worked very, very hard to make sure his team was better than the team they were meeting. But did he ever cheat? No, he never cheated.
And let me tie those two together, because, again, I don't think Belichick's ever cheated. I think that what you just said, just replace the word Lombardi with Belichick, and there you go. A guy who has worked his heart. See, but here's the thing. If you put them together now, A guy, if Vince Lombardi coached against Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick pulled out that 4 offensive linemen, who's eligible, who's ineligible stunt, Vince Lombardi would have been ticked off, sat down, and figured out the next evolution of that. And he would have, because the great ones do that, I think. I'm sorry, man. I don't think that it's, I just don't think Bill Belichick just blatantly cheats. To me, that's not cheating, man. If I can figure out something that you can't, I'm better at my job than you are at yours. That's
okay.
Just,
fair enough.
But there's a difference. Like I said, sticking a needle in footballs and blatantly deflating them so you can get an advantage, that's garbage bush league blatant cheating. That's completely different. I just don't believe that happened. I don't believe that happened at all. And I definitely don't believe that Belichick had anything to do with it if it did happen. I mean, I just don't see, again, how. Here's my thought on that. I'm going to end it with this. Is even if Bill Belichick thought up this ingenious plan to deflate some footballs, how did he figure that those footballs were going to get on the field to start the game and not one referee who touches them after every single play wouldn't have right away noticed the deflated footballs? Because for you to assume his plan was to deflate those footballs, then you also have to assume that he didn't expect the officials to ever touch the ball, because as soon as a referee touches a football, he's going to notice a difference in, maybe not the first one, but after a couple, he's going to notice the difference, especially after the first change of possession where one team's balls are regularly inflated and another team's balls aren't. So Bill Belichick would have also had to assume that nobody else in the NFL was going to be doing their job that day to catch him. And I think that that's no coach would take that kind of a risk for such a minuscule advantage, in my opinion.
Well, I will tell you this. The one thing that this whole thing has done is not one person who is a casual football fan that I know has come up to me and said, so explain this whole thing to me. So I've had the whole court now over the last 10 plus days with all my friends that are not football fans and explain to them exactly what this is all about. So if anything, I got to talk about it 5 times more than I normally would.
Yeah, I don't care to talk about it either. We're done. Thank goodness after this, I hopefully will never say the phrase deflated balls again, at least not in this reference. Dr. Football, my friend, let's see what happens when we come back on Tuesday, man. We'll be talking about the champion of the NFL, legacies perhaps coming out of the game, and then we'll start the venture into the offseason.
Yeah, get ready for a 30-minute spot with me on Tuesday, because I'll have a lot to break down.
Let's do it, Dr. Football. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the big game, and I look forward to talking about it next week.
All right, man. You take care. Have a solid weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks for being here, my man, Dr. Football. You guys can tweet with them at AskDrFootball, AskDrFootball. On Twitter. Let's take a break. Final break here. Come on back and wrap this bad boy up when we come back. Final segment of the show coming up. Hey, if you got a phone call, get it in 216-539-7535. When we come back, wrapping it up, setting the stage for Friday. Don't go anywhere. Still more Sports Fix on tap.
Sent from above, Mr. D-Wayne Love.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Throwing you the best sports commentary in town. The Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania. It's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Looking to upgrade your league trophy? Check out fantasyjocks.com for championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com.
What's your fantasy?
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys. Listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence. Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Hey, Cleveland, this is Tristan Thompson of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're listening to Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix. Final segment here as we wrap this bad boy up. J-Rocc back with you. Yes, Ice Cube. Today, indeed, was a good day. Thanks to Dr. Football Bill Chachkes for joining us in hour 2, talking some NFL. I know I made a lot of friends of the people that don't like the Patriots, man. I get it, man. Like, I get why people don't like them, and I get it if you believe that they cheat. We just have a difference of opinion on that, because if you switch that, like if I believed that was true, then my entire opinion would be different. I don't have any interest in a guy who literally blatantly cheats. Game in the system, it's a fine line, because as the old expression goes, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But even that, game in the system is different from out studying your opponents and looking and going. I mean, to me the difference is if I look at the rules and it says I must do this, and I must do this, but I go, hey, well, they don't exactly say that I have to do this. Well, if I thought of that and you didn't, then I evolved the game, and now the game will figure out if that wasn't cool. They'll change the rule and they'll say, hey, that's too gamey. But if they don't, then how is that bad? I mean, to me, again, that's the old everybody is a winner mentality sometimes that bothers me, where if we can't clear the pole vault record at 15 feet, then instead of working harder, we'll lower it. We'll lower it so everybody can clear it, instead of going, wow, now I see why it was so hard to do that, because only the top can do it. To me, when you use the phrase the best at something, and I think Bill Belichick's one of the best coaches in NFL history. I just wish I didn't have to hate him for that day in 1993 here with Bernie. Other than that, he's right up there. And to me, best doesn't mean you're in a... People throw that word around way too easily. It's why I used to get annoyed when they'd call LeBron the best NBA player of all time, when at the time, to me, he's still in the separating the argument now, let alone we're talking about all time. But that's today's society. Disrespect the past, put the present into it, and all of that. So, but best means best. Like, of all the good ones, then there's the great ones. And then of all the great ones, then there's the select few above that. And that's where I'm at, man. But again, a different cheat. Hey, man, prove the other way, and I go, oh, the hell with that, man, and it invalidates everything that you've ever done. But when we're talking about the examples like Bill was just saying in the last segment, when it's a matter of studying the rule book and finding an advantage, to me, I don't qualify that as cheating. I qualify that as being worth the paycheck that I'm getting. I'm just saying, I sure as hell want my employees looking through the tax code and trying to save me as much money as they can. And then the next guy goes, hey, that's not fair that he did that. I go, hey, apparently it is. And that's why I pay him what I pay him, because he does his job and he does it well. That's all. That's my thought on that. So all the Patriot haters can be mad at me today. Hopefully for you, Seattle goes out there and beats their brains in on Sunday, and then everybody can dance on Belichick's grave. Either way, he's going in the Hall first ballot. He's one of the best. So, but I get it. I made some Patriot haters mad today. That's cool, man. I don't mind. I'll deal with it. Thanks to Eddy Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland for joining us, having some fun today, talking about Kyrie Irving and that double nickel he dropped last night and the evolution of the Cavs. Of course, tomorrow we'll look ahead. They start 3-4 games over the weekend. Sacramento coming to the Q. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But thanks to Eddy for being here with us. Thanks to you guys for being with us. I mean, looking back at the show, looking ahead, I mean, still a few things to get into here. Speaking of a few things to get into, during the break, just got this email just a few moments ago from the Browns here as they announced their 2015 season ticket prices. First time in 6 years, the Browns have... Oh boy, they went for the first opportunity to raise those ticket prices. They haven't been able to raise them for 6 years because they can't. They're 31st in the league in ticket price for a reason, because when you're 31st in the league in record most years, it's kind of hard to go much above that in ticket pricing. So the first opportunity that the Browns got to jump those tickets up here, they took advantage of it. I mean, they've got to get their money back that they invested in the stadium this year, and they sure didn't get it back from Johnny Manziel merchandise. That train died halfway through the season, so not a huge increase, but season ticket packages that last year ranged from $19 to $85 a game as the face value of the ticket, this year will range from $25 to $110 per game. Those are the non-club level season ticket packages. First time, as I said, since 2008 that the Browns increased those ticket prices. They did not increase or decreased ticket prices for about 8,500 seats throughout the stadium. So that balances it out a bit. According to the Browns' new pricing model, 80% of non-club seats, including in the stadium's lower bowl, can be purchased for $80 or less per game, which is below the league's 2014 average ticket price and projections for 2015 as well. So a slight ticket increase, but balanced off a bit by dropping some of the other more expensive tickets down a little bit. Basically, they dropped a hair off of some of the mid-range tickets and raised the bottom-range tickets just a little bit there as well. Looking at the schedule as they release it too, next season is going to be, we know how tough it's going to be for the Browns. This home schedule alone, the combined records, it's a little bit fooling because of San Francisco, even though they are only a 500 season this year. That's a hell of a team. 67-60, the combined record of 53% winning percentage of the teams the Browns play. Check out the home opponents next year for the Browns. Tell me that they don't have their work cut out for them. Arizona finished 11-5. Baltimore 10-6, Cincinnati 10-5-1, Denver 12-4, AFC Championship finalist, Oakland, Pittsburgh, 11-5, won the division. Tennessee and San Francisco. Really, Oakland and Tennessee, those are your two bum opponents there. I mean, look at the rest of that slate, man. You got obviously the division teams, and then you've got San Francisco, Denver, and Arizona added on to that. Man, it's going to be a tough one here for the Browns, as 5 of their 8 home opponents next year qualified for the playoffs here this season. We got a lot of time to get into that. I'm not going to go too much, but increase on the ticket prices here. They won a few more games. They said, hey, we can't go too high, but we can go up a little bit here, and they did. Speaking of going high, Super Bowl tickets continue to rise on the secondary market. Hey, man, you think the Browns talk about ticket prices. Cheapest tickets left on the secondary market for Sunday for the Super Bowl. Cheapest ticket you can find, $8,070. The cheapest one, where you're so far up you can't even see the players without looking on the screen. $8,000 in the hole. You're not even taking a friend. That's you by your lonesome watching that one there, man. I'm trying to scan through here and see if they've got a back end on this one here for what the high end of these tickets are going for. But a comparison to the BCS and some of the recent championship games in college, that 24-hour period before the game, these things go through the roof most years. Although there's been occasional years where the tickets have dropped, but that doesn't appear to be the point here. I'm looking to see the final tickets down at the end. But think about it. By the way, that $8,070 ticket I just listed, face value $500. A $500 ticket jacked up to $8,000. What is that? A 16 times over? Man, that's the business. Forget all this other stuff. We picked the wrong stuff. We should have been secondary selling tickets a long time ago, man, making money like these guys. So, anyways, looking ahead to Super Bowl. That's Sunday. We're going to preview it tomorrow. Jonathan Knight, sports writer extraordinaire, in the house here tomorrow as well. Jeff Gorman with his Super Bowl preview, and Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. All three in the house, as it's the Super Bowl preview edition of the Sports Fix coming up for the weekend here tomorrow. Tonight, hey, still some things to talk about. Blue Jackets. Hey, Charles Morgan out there listening. Columbus Blue Jackets, Florida, tonight, 7:30. Puck drops on that one. Ohio State, big one here. Dan Wismar and I talked about it a little bit earlier here, as you've got number 16 Maryland on tap for the Buckeyes. Buckeyes come in here fresh off of a victory over number 22 Indiana the other day. Buckeyes are a game behind Maryland in the Big Ten standings, game and a half behind first place Wisconsin. So this is a big one here. Buckeyes come in 16-5, 5-3 in the Big Ten. Maryland's 18-3 on the season. They're 6-2 in the conference here. Of course, the big names in this one, you've got D'Angelo Russell, the high-flying, high-scoring, highfalutin freshman for the Buckeyes. And, I saw the latest Draft Express, looking at the mock for next year. Draft Express has already got Russell tentatively coming out and going number 2 in the lottery next year, man. There's not a chance that you enjoy this young man while you can. But I saw an interesting breakdown on Cleveland.com about the Buckeyes and how that and the emergence of Russell and the definite emergence of him going into the draft really kind of screws things up for the Buckeyes, because the way things were supposed to come together to be 2 and done with Russell. I think he really caught people by surprise. Not surprise, but just it being so strong and so right off the bat. He's here. He's ready to play. He's ready to go to the next level, as people are seeing. The Buckeyes were really looking at the recruits coming in, the guys that they got, and then topping it off with Russell next year being a big run, a sophomore season for Russell before he heads in. They're not getting there, brother. They're not getting to a sophomore season. So we'll see. We'll see where this one goes. Playoff time, tournament time's coming. That'll be a lot of fun. This is a good one here, a good challenge for the Buckeyes, as they've got Maryland here. And don't forget, it's the battle of fab freshmen. You not only have D'Angelo Russell on one side, but you got Melo Trimble, the freshman point guard over there for Maryland. He's coming off a 27-point game against Northwestern. Of course, Russell had 22 in his last outing out there for the Buckeyes, and Trimble's averaging nearly 16.5 points a game for the Turks. So it'll be a good one here tonight, and looking forward to seeing it. 7:02 tip-off on ESPN. Value City Arena in Columbus will be packed with 18,000 looking to see that one. We'll talk about it tomorrow as well, and all that. We'll do the thing. We'll get you ready for Monsters hockey this weekend, ready for a Super Bowl, ready for the Cavaliers to get back at it with 3 and 4 days over the weekend. Jonathan Knight's here, Jeff Gorman's here, Mike Brandeberry's here, and you doing the Sports Fix thing. Same bat time, same bat channel, live at noon tomorrow, right here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. You guys know by now how we do it, and if you don't know, now you know. Like Biggie Smalls would say, hey guys, we're coming back tomorrow. Make sure you're here with us. Have some fun tonight. Go Buckeyes. Enjoy that one. Go Cleveland. Wherever you're at, Cleveland or beyond, we love you, and we'll see you tomorrow live, Daddy, as live can be, right here on the Sports Fix.
Never had a beach chair, city of the hard knocks. Let one of us make it at the city, bet we all rock. Coming out the east side, where they do not play much. Clouds always looming, we don't see the sun rays much. Still about the paper, gotta make sure the lights on. Just a mistake on the lake to you, but this is my own. Tatted it on my arm, that I represent that. Homie, I'm from Cleveland, I will tell the president that. Hardest, yeah, we been there. Made some of the greats here. Midwest best, this is MGK's, yeah. Shouts out to St. Clair, uptown, yes, y'all. Heading to the flex, get it popping up with Steph Flaws. Whole state monster, this the home of King James. We are not the empire, but this is where the kings play. Cleveland, let's go.
We rep our city. Blue lights separate the ground from the gritty. Red sick fitted, hood class cover any city that we visit. Winnie up from Cleveland. Survivals of my funky streets. We hustle, don't sleep. Out here in Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland.
Okay, now here we go. Welcome to the Cleveland show. But this ain't no